Hello and welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time listening to the show, my name is Tavishima Ayede. I'm your host. I'm a former lawyer turned business consultant, and what I do here every day is I solve business problems. And today we're going to be tackling a listener question. So we're taking a brief detour from the discussion that we've been having for the past, couple of days on how to close high value sales. So for this I say popular, forgive me, for this particular episode, what we're doing is we're taking a break and we're going to tackle a listener question. And this question is from Adebayo, who is based in Ekiti, but also fulfills in Lagos. So he's in the fashion space, and looking at his WhatsApp profile, he seems like a pretty damn good, I don't know, tailor, fashion stylist, whatever you call it. Like, no, the guy has taste. He's pretty good. Then you can find him online at Bab Lim Clothing. That is BAB, like Babylon, Abi Babalola, and then LIM. So Bab Lim Clothing on Instagram. I can't remember what the website is. So he's been listening to the podcast for about 6 months on Spotify. And Adebayo has a couple of questions around building a brand, around pushing a brand, around communicating brand value, stuff like that. And uh, I've answered lots of questions around this kind of thing before, but I know that there's some people who are just discovering the podcast today. So let me just go ahead and let's just have a random conversation about these sorts of things. So today we're taking a break from closing high value sales, and we're going to be talking about a couple of things brand related, and all the things we're going to talk about are going to flow from a series of conversations or from a series of chats that Adebayo and I have had over WhatsApp. So remember, Bablim Clothing, in case you want to check him out on Instagram and social media. Sorry, forgive me. Then, if you want to connect with me, just like Adebayo did, then you can call me, send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080 And if you don't have 20, 30 minutes that you can devote to listening to podcast episodes over here, then send me a text message or a WhatsApp message. I will add you to the WhatsApp group. Now, on the WhatsApp group, what we do is I just share summaries of podcast episodes, like today's one, for instance. The summary is going to be up there, and the summaries are going to be in a PDF file. So, going to be very easy to download, very easy to read, and the thing won't take you more than 3 to 5 minutes max. In fact, if you're a fast reader like I am, you read it in 1 or 2 minutes. But you should be able to scan it. You should be able to get the gist of all the things we discuss. You should be able to get the gist of what the recommended action points are. And that way you can stay in touch with the podcast every single day without having to devote 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50 minutes to listen to what we discuss over here on the podcast. Oh, and then before we continue, apologies. Today is a Sunday, so the kids are catechism, and I'm just chilling in the car park making this recording. So expect to hear noise in the car park, Okada, people driving by, people saying hello, blah, 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 and stuff like that. Then it's also next to an Anglican church, just in case you start hearing praise and worship. All right. Now, Adebayo, preoccupied about building a brand. He's worried about pushing a brand, and he's trying to figure out how to communicate the value of his brand. So let me just take things one step at a time. This is just freestyling now. So remember, this is just me freestyling on some of the conversations that we've had. This is not me letting you know what's up. This is not as if we had a proper consulting session. Now, a proper consulting session is when I sit down with you and we start looking through particular issues that we have. I say that we have, that you have in your business. So we didn't do that. So this is just me freestyling. Now, excuse me, a lot of you reach out to me and say you're building a brand. And to be honest, the thing confuses me. I'm just being real with you guys. When I hear that somebody is building a brand, I'm confused because I don't know what you guys are saying. Like, okay, you're building a brand. What does that mean? Now, because I know it means different things to different people, I ask everybody, okay, you say you're building a brand. What does that mean? And nobody gives me a concise answer that I'm building a brand. Therefore, I'm doing this. Therefore, I'm doing that. Therefore, I'm doing that. And therein lies the challenge. Therein lies the problem. In your mind, you say you're building a brand, but you don't have an idea of what building a brand is. You don't have any concrete ideas about any concrete steps that you should be taking. So, this whole thing of when somebody says, I'm building a brand, you just have some nebulous ideas in your head that you're throwing around every single day. And that's the reason why you feel like you're not making any progress. Building a brand, what does it mean? You don't know. Some nebulous ideas. Are you making progress? You don't know. Are you in one place? You don't know. Are you going backwards? You don't know. So you all need to be very clear about what building a brand means. See, Adebayo, it's not as if I'm trying to open your bomb in the public. You know, you and I have been chatting, yes, but I'm also making this for the benefit of other people who are also listening to the podcast. So no vex. It's not as if I'm trying to drag you. I just want us to have a full, frank, and honest conversation here about these sorts of things. So you guys need to be very, very clear when you say you're building a brand, what it means. And to be honest, anybody who reaches out to me and say you're building a brand, I'm being honest with you now. The moment you open your mouth and say building a brand, I am confused and I do not know what it is that you mean. So when I ask you, when you say building a brand, what do you mean? I'm not trying to be quarrelsome. I'm not trying to be facetious. It's just that, honestly speaking, I don't know what you mean. And every single person, when they say building a brand, they mean something else. So I need to be clear what you mean before I can start advising you about what you need to do next. Now, when people say, I'm trying to increase my sales, oh, that's different. Even though they're not very clear, in your mind, you kind of understand what this person is trying to do. When somebody says, I'm trying to grow my sales, you now know that, okay, maybe the person is trying to find more customer, or maybe the person is trying to increase his price. But, if somebody says, I'm trying to grow my sales, we can, we know where we're heading. There's one or two, 3 or 4 concrete things that we can put our hand to, and we now start knowing how to solve a problem. So, me, frankly, Tavishima Ayede, I'm not a fan when people reach out and say, I'm building a brand. And quite honestly, when you're in the early stages and you're worried about building a brand, it is a distraction. For those of us born in Nigeria who love certain international brands, now I'm a Nigerian of a certain age, and among my own set, it was Nike and Coca-Cola and Adidas. Then in the African American community, there was this thing, FUBU, for us, by us. Then there was what again? Then like Calvin Klein and stuff like that. So I'm from that Nigerian generation. You get, those were the kinds of things that we knew when people would say brand. If you happen to be in my own set, go and check it. All those things, all those names that we grew up with, whether Calvin Klein, whether Tommy Hilfiger, whether Hilfiger, whether Tommy Hilfiger, whether Nike, whether FUBU, whether Adidas, whether whatever, go and check it. They did not start by building a brand. They started by growing an organization that was heavily focused on sales. The whole point was, let us get some traction, let us get some customers, let us get some revenues. The brand was emergent. The brand came later. The brand was ancillary. The brand was not the first thing that they paid attention to. It was not. And this is the reason why I give my phone number at the beginning of every single episode, 080-6466-2140. If there's any of you who says, guy, what you're saying is a lie, call me and tell me. I'm not hiding. When I say these things, I don't hide. If I'm lying, call me and tell me. And then you show me the case study. And I'll keep quiet once and for all that, okay, what I'm saying is a lie. Let me stop misinforming people. Now, there are a few organizations like Sony and like Apple that decided to be brand-led from the start. See, that one is a separate case. Let's just pack them from the side first. Let's keep them one side. Everybody else did not say, I am building a brand. Everybody else started with, I'm building a business, let me get some traction, let me get a customer, let me validate this thing. Is this a good business idea? Those were the kind of questions that people were asking themselves. And please, these are the kinds of questions that you should be asking yourself if you're a listener of this podcast. You wake up one day and say, I'm building a brand, you are distracting yourself from the cocoa. The cocoa is, my product, is it good? Okay. Are people willing to pay for my product or service? Are there enough people who are willing to pay for it at the price that I like so that the team makes sense? Okay. Now that I've discovered the kind of people that like what it is that I do, and I've figured out the price that they like, where are these people? Let me begin to pursue them. Right now, if I only have 5 every month, let me see how I can increase to 7 every month or 10 every month. These are the questions you should be asking yourself. The question of brand it will follow later. So some people reach out to me and they say, "Oh, dude, you have a nice brand." And I say, "Thank you very much." But honestly speaking, I did not set out to build a brand. I just started making these things and educating people. The brand is emergent. Now at this stage, I can call a brand consultant and say, "Hey, Oga consultant, you know what? This is what I'm doing. I want to position myself like this. I want to position them like that. And I can work with the brand somebody and we can make some progress." But I didn't start this journey saying, "Let me build a brand." And it's been 10 minutes, so let me just kill that line. But I'll show you guys get the point. So, Adebayo, honestly speaking, yeah, from one guy speaking to another, from like just take it like we're brothers. I'm just speaking to you like I'll talk to my brother. This whole brand thing, just forget for now. The brand will take care of itself. There are some bigger questions we need to ask. So, how do you build a brand? How do you push a brand? Yeah, those questions are secondary for now. Let's focus on some primary questions. Now, when it comes to communicating the value of your brand, okay, no problem. That's another question entirely. And there are some things that we do in sales that can help you. Now, first of all, for those of you who are worried about communicating the value of your brand, is okay. The thing makes sense. But the thing is, first of all, do you even understand what your brand is? To understand what your brand is, because you have to understand what the brand is accurately and what it means to your customers before you begin to project. That's the reason why I keep on using NEPA, AEDC, Ikeja Distribution Company, all of them, all of them, all of them. Now, for AEDC in particular, their branding is on point. Their website is sweet. Their Twitter is immaculate. When you call them on the customer service, they even have that, the nice music playing and everything and all whatnot. So their branding is on point. What they are projecting is on point. But meanwhile, all of us in Abuja that have to be under the purview of AEDC, all of us are angry because the service we are receiving is, you get me. So the brand that they are projecting is one thing. The actual brand on the ground is something else. If you ask me what is the brand of NEPA, the thing that I would tell you would be different from what NEPA will say. So your brand is not just what you're trying to project. Your brand is also what the people, your customer, how do they feel you? The way that they are feeling you. That's what your brand actually is. Nigeria, what is our brand? Is our brand not Giant of Africa, something, 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 blah, 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 blah? Now, in real life, who actually will say Nigeria is the Giant of Africa? Who? But is that not our brand? Our brand is Giant of Africa. Reality, what is our brand? People will tell you all kinds of things. Nobody will tell you Giant of Africa. None. Except maybe people in government. So before you communicate the value of your brand, you need to learn how to figure out what your brand is in the first place. And you know that by speaking to people. So you talk to them. Don't make it a questionnaire thing. So Adebayo, you have a bunch of customers already. All right. From what I've seen from the pictures, it looks as if you're doing some good things. Looks as if you're making some money. Because that office space that you rented out, I can see the AC, I can see the plush curtains, I can see the fabric, I can see. So I know that you're not, small. Like I was even telling you that I should even come and learn from yourself because you've gone far. So be talking to your customers and you ask them questions. You say, Chief, you say, Madam, Mommy, thank you very much for doing business with us. We have gone halfway into 2026, and Mommy, you've been one of my biggest customers so far. Mommy, thank you very much. I really appreciate everything that you do for us. Sorry for the noise in the background. It's about to rain, so that's all the thunder and lightning. So you tell Mommy like that. Mommy will say, my son is okay. They say, Mommy, I beg. I just need to ask you a few questions because I'm trying to grow this business. So I just want to get some small suggestions from you. Mommy, Shay, we can talk. Mommy will say, it's okay now. You're my son now. Omo dada, continue. Then you now be asking mommy questions. Okay, so mommy, why do you like doing business with us? Mommy, what are the things that we've done well? Mommy, what are the things that we can improve? Daddy, what is the, that's how Yoruba people talk. Mommy, mommy, daddy, daddy. Yeah, ekale, ekushe, eku, that's how they talk. And then you be asking them all these questions. You're trying to figure out what are you doing well? What are you doing poorly? What are the things that you can improve? It is asking people all these questions that will tell you, bam, what your brand is. And it is that you will begin to project. And I talk about my experience when I was in the event space as a photographer, working with my brother who was handling video. In the beginning, I thought the value of my brand, in quote, was that people do not like Photoshop. So I was taking pictures for people who like everything natural. But upon asking people, nobody, I repeat, nobody said anything about the quality of my photos. The thing hurt my pride. I wanted to cry. Because here was I thinking I'm an artist. Meanwhile, nobody said anything about my photos. People started talking about how I'm professional. They started talking about how I'm on time. They started talking about how I've never disappointed. All these kind of things. You know, my wife had to do emotional therapy on me in those days because I prided myself as an artist. Nobody is saying, "Oh, it is your beautiful picture." Instead, they're talking about all these things. But eventually, I had to accept. My wife was able to calm me down. That, well, all these things that they're saying actually is good. And then in my conversations with future people, do you think I kept on saying that whole thing of, oh, we're not photoshopped, we're not this, we're not that, everything candid, everything? Did I? No. I just started repeating exactly the things that other people were saying. And I was hitting the conversation right on the head. That was my brand, whether I liked it or not. Here was I talking about stories and building magical moments and blah, 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 blah. But my customer base, the people that value me, the people that were giving me money, were telling me something entirely different. What I thought my brand was not what my brand was, at the level of the streets when I was talking to the customers. So, Adebayo, don't, whatever it is you're trying to project, don't try and project what is on your head. Pick up your phone, look through your WhatsApp, the people you've been chatting with who have been transferring you money, or go to your studio, that little book where you write down the names of everybody that has placed orders for 2026, 2025, 2024, 2023. Look at that thing. Or you go where you keep all your receipts, all the people that you've issued receipts to before. In fact, do all of these things that I've said. Those people, start calling them. I promise you, Mr. Adebayo, by the time you have spoken to 12, 15 people, you will start seeing some patterns emerge. You will hear that, oh, people are saying some particular things. Whatever it is that they say, Mr. Adebayo, that is your brand. You now have clarity. That is what you will start trying to project. Whatever they say is what you will use in your Instagram, is what you will use in your TikTok, is what you will use on your website, is what you will use when you're talking to people. Now, I can't guess at what it is that they're going to say, but whatever it is that they say, that is your brand. Hopefully, you won't end up like me, crying because maybe you think your brand is, I don't know, top notch, sophisticated something. But then when you're listening to them, you now hear something to it. So hopefully, you won't end up like me, lying down somewhere and crying that, oh, people don't love my brand, people don't love my brand, but whatever it is that they say, that's your brand. So that's how before we get to, excuse me, communicating the value of the brand, you just need to make sure that you understand your brand correctly first. Then, in the chat, Adebayo talks about how he has a challenge of not getting the kind of customers that fits his brand. But you can now see that we are getting to the core of the issue now. And this is why I say branding is a distraction. We're now getting to the core of the issue. The kind of customers that he wants is not the kind of customers that he's getting. That is a sales problem, my friend. That is not a branding problem. It's a sales problem. We start off the selling journey by figuring out our ICP, our ideal customer profile. Who are the kind of people that we want to do business with, or who are the kind of people that we're already doing business with and the business is sweet. Now, what I advise people to do is this. Sometimes the people we're currently doing business with now is not the kind of people that we like. Like back in my event days, I wanted to do business with Nigerian brides in diaspora because those babes, they pay well. And when they price reasonably. So I wanted to be doing business with all those girls that are graduating from America, graduating from the UK, graduating from, Western Europe, even some Eastern European countries. Those babes, they pay well. You tell somebody that, oh, you know what, this whole thing, your bill is 600. If she's pricing, she will say, and will you take 550? That's the kind of market I like. Not the kind of thing that you tell somebody your bill is 300, they'll say, and you won't take 250. Sorry, you tell somebody that your bill is 600, then they will now tell you that, oh, you won't take 250 because they're trying to end at 300. So there's nothing wrong with we're doing business with the one that is available now. Meanwhile, we're working towards the one that we want to do business in the future. But either way, all these questions of ICP, these are sales problems, not branding problems. So the question now becomes, who are we doing business with now? Okay, good. Let's see how we can attract more of those people, just so we can pay the lights on and so we can pay these bills. Because at Debayo, the way I'm looking at that your studio, I'm sure that the rent, okay, well, it's Ekiti. So the rent will not be big like Lagos rent. But your studio, I mean, whatever people call it, that thing looks nice. It looks very posh, very sweet, very clean. It looks expensive. So you need some of these people that you're doing business with now. We need more of them so that at least we can be paying the bills. We'll now worry about how to attract the kind of customers that we want to attract. But either way, that's a sales problem. That is not a branding problem. Then I'm also wondering how much of this is that you're being reactive, versus proactive. Because there are lots of people who say, oh, the kind of customers I'm getting is not the kind of customers I like. That's not a problem. We all feel that way. We all go through those ups and those downs. But the problem is just that a lot of us now remain in that reactive mode. Okay, you don't like the people that are showing up. That's not a problem. Who do you want to show up? Have you figured them out? Have you figured out the demographics? Have you figured out the psychographics? Now that you have we figured out a way that we can target those people? Have you figured out where they exist? Have you figured out where they hide in real life or be online? And have you come up with a plan for how we can go and target those people? Now, the plan that you have come up with, have you started executing on those plans? So, last week, how many of those people did you attempt to call? How many of those people did you attempt to visit? How many of those people did you attempt to invite to your studio for a fitting? How many of those people did you try to get introduced to? What is the plan? Let's be sure that we're not just being in a reactive phase. I'm not happy with these people, but then you're not coming up with a plan. Now, Mr. Adebayo, there are also a couple of things that came up in our conversation. You're making most of your profits mostly from Lagos. And I understand that, for you, it's a hassle because, fulfillment now, because you now have to pay Bolt, you have to pay Uber, you have to pay, all those people, and you have to deliver to Lagos. I get it. But there's this thing in business called the Pareto principle. Some people, the old school way, people used to call it Pareto principle, but I think now people call it the law of fractal returns or something like that. Anyway, the idea behind Pareto or fractal returns is this: that, excuse me, when it comes to customers in this case, the 80% of the money you make will come from 20% of the customers. So, uh, you're there in Ekiti, but that Lagos money looks like it's making sense. So there are some few people in Lagos, maybe 10, 15, 20 of those clients, maybe 30, 40, but those ones are responsible for for 80 or 60 or 70% of your profits. They're responsible for the bulk. So for now, this is what I'll recommend. Lagos money is what's popping off. No problem. We will come up with a plan for leaning in more into Lagos money and dealing with the challenges of getting that Lagos money while we're trying to beef up Ekiti, because Ekiti will be easier to fulfill because Ekiti is your backyard. So, excuse me. So, delivery, what's it called again? When you deliver to people, when you what's it called? Alteration and all those things will be easier in Ekiti. But unfortunately, my brother, right now that Lagos money is making sense. So you guys continue with that Lagos money for now, and realize that it's not a problem that you can get away with. Pareto is a reality for everybody. So take Coca-Cola for instance. So Coca-Cola makes lots of money international, but if you check it, you see that majority of their profits are coming from one kind market or another market. There is no way that they're making money 50-50. I mean, like equal the same way. There's no way that the money Coca-Cola makes from America or from Nigeria or from Poland or from Uzbekistan, there's no way that everything is just, everything the same percentage. If you check, you see that a bigger part of the customers are coming from somewhere. So it's not like we just can't avoid it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't deceive yourself that you wake up one day and you see that Ekiti money and Lagos money is 50-50. It's probably not going to happen. That's not just the reality for business. If you get things to be your way, okay, maybe you might wake up one day and you find that the situation is Ekiti is giving you 8% of money and Lagos maybe 20%. But anyway, just know that it's a thing. Pareto, 80-20 principle, the fractal nature of profits. It is what it is. Then you spoke about personal branding as an individual. And of course, this is also one of those things that confuses me. So when you say personal branding as an individual, what do you mean exactly? Because people mean different things when they talk about that. However, if you're going to do this whole personal branding thing, and in my own opinion, I would say don't bother with this whole, trying to build a personal brand. Just pay attention to the fundamentals of business and you'll be fine. Don't get distracted by brand. That's just my own point of view. Well, sure, even if you must do this whole personal branding thing, then okay, no problem. Just create content. That's all. Well, it's not as if that's all, but it's the beginning. While you're doing the content and while that is gaining some traction, you can be thinking, you can be strategizing. Then you can also be keeping an eye out for people who are good brand consultants, because we have brand consultants in Nigeria. Too much, in fact. Too many brand consultants. Too much. So you now keep an eye for a brand consultant who's going to help you, because I come over here, I solve business problems every day, but my primary area of expertise is sales, especially personal selling. So, uh, truly, even if you have a brand problem, it's not something I can help you with. You're going to have to look elsewhere. So, create content. And of course, my own formula is simple: there's educational content, there's entertaining content. Pick a lane. I would advise you to pick educational content because educational content is easier to do, and entertaining content is hard. Like, since you're in the fashion space, I'm sure you've seen people who do. There's this guy in Lagos, I can't remember his name, like very slim guy, slim and yellow, but he does all these videos where, because he's also in the fashion space, so they'll do something challenge. He will take clothes, he will throw it up in the air, then they'll do one quick cap cut something. Then as the clothes are falling down, you see that he's properly dressed. So they'll do that maybe like 5 changes, something like that. So that's how he makes his videos. Now, that kind of life, to be honest, is hard. Waking up every day, what is the challenge? What is the trendy music? Where are the pieces? How am I going to coordinate them? How will I style them? After you shoot, how will I layer the music? How will I edit in CapCut? That's a hard life, especially if you don't enjoy those kind of things. But if you have the talent and you have the what, sure, go ahead, do it. But educational content, hopping on the microphone like I'm doing now, or pointing the camera at yourself and talking about something and then putting it on Instagram, that one is a lot easier. Believe me, it's a lot easier. The only thing you do is you just make sure you brush your teeth and then you put powder on your face so it doesn't look as if you're just waking up. And then you come up with a small outline of what it is you want to say. Once you have that, you are good to go. And once you record it, you are done. If it takes me 40 minutes to get through today's podcast episode, once I am done, I am done. No other time doing anything else. I just use 5 minutes to now upload it. So in other words, if I record 30 minutes, worst case scenario, in 40 minutes, I am done. I've recorded it, I have put title, I have uploaded, like I am done. Or like entertaining content that is a whole day's journey. Anyway, so let me move on from personal branding. But okay, there's still a few things on this whole thing of personal branding. I'm sure you guys have realized that I'm teasing out some tensions here. One of them is projection. This whole idea of this is what I want my brand to be. Now, in creating content or in building a brand, you can be projecting or you can be curating. Projection means I'm trying to. Okay, I'll explain this thing now. Okay, projection. I'm trying to throw a certain idea or a certain image of myself out there. But then curating just means my life is happening on a normal. My life is happening on a steady. All I'm doing is I'm just keeping a diary. I'm making diary entries about what's going on. And in case you guys haven't figured out, that is exactly what I'm doing. I am projecting nothing. I'm just simply curating my life and my professional experience as it goes on. So the series that we're doing on uh, closing high value sales. It's a series of lectures that I gave from the 19th of January 2026. All I'm doing is I'm showing up here and saying, guys, this is what I taught from January 19th, 2026. That is curation. I'm just keeping diary entry and telling you guys this was going on in my life. That's all. And I'm using that. People will listen and be like, okay, truly, truly, truly. This guy has some expertise. Don't be worrying too much about your projecting. Just curate. Diary entry. This was going on in my life. So even as a fashion person, yes, I know you want to do all those entertaining stuff, but I just delivered a guinea brocade, something, something, something to mommy Fashola in Lagos, something, one of my biggest clients, something, something. This is the dress. This is what she said she wanted. At the conception stage, this is how we designed the something. Then you now take picture of the notes that you designed. The thing that we wanted for mommy was this, that, because the dress was supposed to do this. So therefore, we took this kind of color to represent this kind of color to represent that, and something, something, something. And, this is the story behind mommy's whatever. We delivered it to her 2 days ago. I just got off the phone with mommy right now, and mommy is particularly happy, and this and this and that, blah, 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 blah. And this is what we do at Bablim's Clothing. You want a chance to work with us, slide into my DM, something, 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 and then you just end it. That's curation. So don't be too worried about, I'm projecting this, I'm projecting that. No. If you just do curation is easy. Curation, Curatation, curation, curating. Or like, what's his name? Gary Vaynerchuk likes to call it, keeping diary entry. Diary entry is the easiest thing you can do. You don't have to overthink it. So even if you want to get on this journey, please don't worry too much about projection. Am I projecting myself as a big boy? Am I projecting myself as an expensive boy? Am I projecting myself as a this? Am I presenting myself as a that? Is my packaging correct? Nah, just wake up every day. Diary entry. Just curate. Just curate what's happening. So if today you saw for Mama Chukudi, put it up that I work with Madam Chukudi. This was the experience. This is what we helped her achieve. If next week you work for Tony Elumelu, put it up. This was the experience of working for Tony Elumelu. This is what Tony Elumelu wanted. This is the kind of suit that we delivered to him and everything. Oh, and here are pictures of Tony Elumelu wearing our suit at the World Cup. As it's happening, just be putting it there. Just be you. Just be easy. Just be cool. Just be calm. With time, when you're making progress, you find somebody who is a brand strategist. You talk to them and, they will clean you up. But for now, don't get worried. Don't be preoccupied about all these sorts of things. So, Bab, Adebayo is also worried about storytelling and visuals, how to get better at that. See, I'm not saying all these things are not important. They are. But these are some things that we figure out. We figure them out with time. Right now, just focus on answering customer questions in your content. You'll be okay. The questions that people are asking, you'll be okay. So if you were designing the thing for Mommy Fashola, and Mommy Fashola said she wanted a backless halter top mermaid dress, but in your own opinion, you think that kind of thing would not be sophisticated for a woman who is over 60, and then you had that conversation with Mommy Fashola, and you're able to convince her. That is your next post. Your next post will be, there are lots of high society women in Lagos right now who are looking at this trend that is being put up by younger fashionistas like Toke Makiwa. And so lots of you want topless, backless, halter top mermaid dresses. It is a good look for young ladies of a certain age, but for my dear mommies who want to copy this style, you people are much more sophisticated, you people are much more refined, and so depending on your body type, it will make more sense to do a peplum high-waisted blah 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 something 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 like this dress that we designed for one of our biggest clients, Mommy Fashola, and then you now start showing picture. You see what I'm saying? If you're worried about storytelling visuals, well, it's not bad, but I'm just saying that if you just start making videos and making content that is aimed at answering people's questions, When I was working with Mommy Fashola, what were the questions Mommy Fashola was asking me? Did she ask me what kind of silhouette will fit my body type? That is the questions that you should be answering. Did she ask me whether Guinea brocade is still raining? That is another piece of content. That is a question that you should be answering. Whether in 2026 people should still be making clothes with Guinea brocade. So, where was I? So I just got distracted. Somebody was hailing me outside. Like I said, I'm in the car park, so everybody can see me. I'm sure some people will be wondering that this guy looks very stupid. He's shouting into a microphone. Why is he shouting into a microphone? Anyway, this is the joys of making content live and in the flesh. So, just answer customer questions. Don't worry too much about storytelling, visual, and all these kind of things. Just be answering questions for now. Later on, you'll find somebody who is a branding and communication specialist, and the person will help package you well. But for now, just be answering customer questions. That's all. Brand strategist will come later. Somebody to help you with corporate communications and all that will come later. Now, Adebayo I also had another question. Will personal branding help you scale? The answer is maybe. Because at the end of the day, at least when Nigerians say branding, I'm assuming they mean, fame, let people should know me, stuff like that. So yeah, the more people know you, it will help. So yes, by all means, do your best to make sure that more people help you, know you. So yes, branding will help you scale. But see, this is the reason why I say we need to pay attention to much more foundational problems. Because if you're looking at it from the angle of, oh, I need a bigger brand, I need a bigger brand, I need a bigger brand. Maybe you're looking at Toke Makinwa, at Ebuka, you're looking at who again? Like Michael Dapper and then So, like all these people now that are grabbing the headlines. You get, if that's what you're looking at, okay, it can be done, it can be achieved. But from a fundamental perspective, of running your business, especially from a sales perspective, when we talk about scale, what we mean is we need people or teams, then we need processes or systems or playbooks, and then we need technology or tools. I repeat, from a sales perspective, when we talk about scaling just means we want this thing to grow beyond my own personal effort. What we are trying to do is we're trying to build people or we're trying to build teams. Then we're trying to build processes or systems or playbooks that we will train the teams on. And then we are also trying to acquire tech or tools that will help us to leverage on our efforts. So you see why I say let's pay attention to the fundamentals and let's stop all this whole branding thing is a distraction. If you're paying attention to the fundamentals and you're in Mr. Adebayo's situation, you'll be focused on people, team. What kind of people do I need to hire? You'll be focused on processes, systems, playbooks. What are the standard operating procedures? What are the playbooks? What are the frameworks? What are the things I need to train these people upon? Then you'll be focused on your tech or your tools. What kind of tools can we use to leverage the efforts of these people and make these people even much more effective? Then you will also be asking yourself the questions of, sales. Do I have sales or cash flow to justify all the expense that will be needed to hire more people or to leverage more tools? So you see why I say let's just be paying attention to the fundamentals first. All this branding thing will come later. If you're looking at this thing from this fundamental perspective, you'll be focused on the right things: people, processes, technology, cash flow, sales. So, okay, 40 minutes. Let me just stop here because I know that there's somebody who is listening, who is a brand specialist, who's going to be upset, and who's going to be assume that what I'm saying is that brand is useless. I am not saying that brand is useless, so nobody should misunderstand me. Brand is very, very, very important. Like for me, whether I like it or I don't like it, I am building a brand somewhat. You see, brand is emergent. The brand is beginning to emerge. All I'm just saying is that in the beginning, your first 2, 3, 4, 5 years in business, branding is not your main concern. Not yet. Not yet. And the more you keep talking about brand, you will be distracted by font. You will be distracted by logo. You will be distracted by colors. You'll be distracted by the perfect website, the perfect brochure, the perfect, it will be a distraction for a lot of you. So don't worry, just focus on doing fundamental business and focus on doing the fundamental business good. Then, this brand that we're all chasing, the thing will be emergent. It will arise later on by its own. Go and check the history of Coca Cola. The Coca Cola we see today is not really a Coca Cola that started from the beginning. Go and check Nike. I was even surprised when listening to a summary of the Shoe Dog story, the autobiography. Is it Phil Knight? I mean, what's the guy's name? Yeah, Phil Knight. I was about to say Suge Knight. I think that's Death Row Records. That's Suge Knight. So Phil Knight, Nike. When the business started, the business was not even called Nike. It was not. It was condition that caused, crayfish to bend. He was doing business as something else. Some of his distributors wanted to mess him up. And then he and his business partner said, you know what? The Omo, we suppose pivot. That if we continue like this, these guys will mess us up. And that's how Nike was born. So Nike was doing business under a different name for many, many, many years. So the brand that we know and love, Nike, was not there from the beginning. Don't get distracted by brand. But don't worry, this brand that you're looking for, the more you continue to chase it, it will elude you. But if you focus on doing the fundamentals of business well, your brand will continue to emerge. If I started this journey by trying to position myself, because Toke Makiwa has a very big podcast. So I'm looking at Toke, I'm looking at Ebuka, I'm looking at I Said What I Said, I'm looking at the Honest Bunch, and I say, let me position myself, let me position myself. I've done Miss Road since. But I just hop on the mic and I just, answer questions the best that I can. And then lo and behold, a brand begins to emerge. And then tomorrow somebody will say, oh, Taveshima's podcast. Oh, it's good because it's different from this, it's different from this, it's different from that. So let's just focus on the fundamentals. Let me just stop there. Excuse me. Again, Mr. Adebayo, I beg, no vex. Like I said, it's not as if I'm trying to open your bum bum here. I'm not trying to drag you. I just want us to have a very frank and honest conversation. I'm also trying to make sure that some other people who are in a similar situation might be able to hear one or two things that will get that will help them in their business journey. And yeah, I think that's it. So if you'd like to get in touch, just like Mr. Adebayo did, call me, send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. Yeah, I think that's it. You want to be added to my WhatsApp group? Let me know so you can get the podcast summaries instead of listening to 45-minute episodes like this one. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you all some other time, and hopefully it's going to be in a much more quieter background without the distractions coming in from the background. So you all enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope and pray that this coming week that is going to start tomorrow, Monday, I hope it's going to be a profitable one for us all.